Is it the witching hour yet? No, 1 minute. Well,
There we go.
there we go, right now. It's go time. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the business meeting for June 15th, 2021. And we do have all three commissioners present. And at this time, Chris, since you're standing there and you've got a gavel in your hand, would you like to lead us in the flag salute? Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, thank you, Chris. Military veteran, thank you for your service. Okay, with that, let's go ahead with the Zoom guidelines, please.
This meeting is streaming via Zoom, Facebook Live, and YouTube Live. For those meeting in person, please remember to turn on your mic and speak directly into the mic when talking. For those joining us via Zoom, please remember to mute your phone or device when you are not speaking. If you forget to mute your phone or device, we will mute you, and you'll hear a voice saying you've been muted. If you hear that voice, it is because we can hear your background noise. For questions during the meeting, please raise your hand. If you're not able to raise your hand, please wait until the commissioners ask for questions.
Okay, thank you, Taylor. And with that, public comment. Okay, thank you. No comments and no on hands are up. Okay. Presentations.
Move to approve proclamation recognizing June 19th, 2021 as Juneteenth.
Second.
Okay. Whereas Juneteenth or Juneteenth Independence Day commemorates the traditional observance of the end of slavery in the United States and is observed annually on June 19th. And whereas Abraham Lincoln issued the Emancipation Proclamation on January 1st, 1863, declaring that all persons held as slaves within any state or designated part of the state, the people wherefore shall not be in rebellion against the United States, shall be then, henceforth, and forever free. And whereas President Lincoln correctly believed slavery to be in violation of the principles of the Declaration of Independence and determined that it is abolishing representation as a new birth of freedom for the nation, and whereas more than 2 years would pass before the news reached African Americans living in Texas, and whereas on June 19th, 1865, Union Major General Gordon Granger and his regiment arrived in Galveston, Texas, and spread the news that slavery had been abolished. And whereas the first official Juneteenth celebration took place in Texas the following year, and whereas Juneteenth has been celebrated annually for more than 150 years, making it the oldest nationally celebrated commemoration of the end of slavery. And whereas the Lewis County Board of County Commissioners wish to acknowledge and celebrate the significance of this celebration in African American history and in the heritage of our nation. Now therefore be resolved that the BOCC hereby recognize Juneteenth as an important opportunity to honor the principles of the Declaration of Independence and celebrate the achievements and contributions of African Americans have made and continue to make in Lewis County and across our nation. Done in open session on June 15th, 2021. Okay.
Former Commissioner Fund has her hand raised.
Let's take this at the end, Commissioner Fund. We'll give you an opportunity at the end. So do we have any questions or comments or anything to acknowledge this?
I think it's a great day in American history.
Acknowledge that.
Okay. Thank you, Edna.
I think it's a great day in American history. I know growing up
Absolutely.
in Texas, we definitely celebrated that. And yeah, excited that we're doing this.
Yeah, in the light of some of the political unrest, we'll call it, I think it's a great opportunity to acknowledge the achievements of everyone and try to unite the nation the best we can. So I think this is a good proclamation and recognizing that. So, okay, anything else? Okay, there was a motion and a second to approve the proclamation recognizing June 19th, 2021 as Juneteenth. Okay, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Passed. Thank you. 3-0. Okay.
Make a motion to approve one consent item, Resolution 21-226, approval of warrants and payroll, and the approval of minutes from the June 8th, 2021 business meeting.
Second.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. This is Grace Jimenez, the Chief Accountant in the Auditor's Office, speaking to Resolution 21-226. This is our approval of warrants and payroll for payment for the week of June 4th through June 10th. In the first section, we note our warrants issued on behalf of the Special Purpose Districts. These were 842-644 through 842-688. Sorry, bad timing of the train, so I'll speak up. Our regular county warrants were numbered 842-604 through 842-643 and 842-669 through 843-116, a total of 488 warrants for a total payment of $915,450.63. We also issued payroll on June 10th. We had warrants numbered 795-832 through 795-833 and automatic deposits numbered 26733 through 27313, total of 583 payments, and the total amount was $1,109,542.19. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Grace. Okay, there was a motion and a second to approve two consent items. The first one is approval of warrants, and then the second one is the approval of the minutes for June 8th, 2021. All in favor?
Aye.
Pass. Thank you. 3-0. Next.
Move to approve deliberation item Resolution 21-227.
Second.
Good morning, Commissioners. Afternoon, Commissioners. Lee
That's okay,
Napier.
Lee. I
Lee
continue
Napier,
to do it.
Director of Community Development, speaking on this agenda item, which is Resolution 21-227. Today, what I'm presenting and asking you to do is to give consent from the Board of County Commissioners to forward the draft shoreline management plan to the Department of Ecology. With this action, the plan will be reviewed by Department of Ecology prior to a formal public hearing before the Board of County Commissioners. I don't expect much to change between the document as it's presented today and when it will be presented again, probably in July or August. And since we probably have time on the agenda, I'll spend a little bit of time reviewing some of those changes. Our current shoreline management plan in Taylor will be projecting the periodic summary update as well. So our shoreline management plan was last adopted in 2017, and we are mandated by the state and the RCWs to have a schedule of periodic updates. This is our next update. When we complete this update, you will not hear from us again for another 8 years. That's when we're scheduled to have the next update. The scope of this update integrates the current critical areas ordinance, which is referred to as Lewis County Code 1738. It provides some clarifications between the 2017 document and the present document, adds some definitions, and another category that we're just kind of calling miscellaneous changes that are minor. So the integration of the critical areas ordinance goes back to in 2017, we updated our shoreline master plan. In 2018, we updated our critical areas ordinance. Those two actions created a conflict because the 2017 document included a chapter of Lewis County Code that was repealed in 2018 by the county. And so this will integrate the 2018 Critical Areas Ordinance Code into the 2021 SMP. So what does that mean? It means that instead of referring to it as Chapter 1735 and 1735A, it'll just be 1738, which exists now. We've also provided some updates for clarifications. There's some clarifications about forest practices, and so our clarification is that forest practices only involves timber cutting and is not development under the Act and does not require a shoreline substantial development permit. It is regulated through DNR. We've also provided a little bit of clarification related to, and we're adopting something that Commissioner Stamper had asked about in the Shoreline Management Act. There is what's called substantial development, and there is what's labeled as the dollar amount related to that. And so our actions call out what the higher level is. And so it's typically assumed that you'll go with each year whenever that goes up. And so we're calling it out now. So it's increasing from $6,400 to $7,047.
So Lee, we cannot, the county does not have the ability to adjust those numbers. Is that correct? Because with
there is specific
the price
definitions.
of lumber and, I mean, it's going to continue to go up. So that's why, I know that we've talked about this a number of times.
And so it's called out in the RCWs about what is or isn't substantial development. And that spans a wide range of things that are considered substantial development. But what most people wonder about is that the cost of doing their work. And so some people can say that the cost of their doing work is less because maybe they're doing it themselves, maybe they're repurposing some materials, while other people may say that the cost is a contractor and new materials. It's also clear that you have to go with market value, and it does not necessarily recognize inflation, but it's meant to allow for smaller projects to move forward as either exemptions and not fall under the category of substantial development, because that can lead to longer permitting. We also worked to clarify some things related to definitions of ag. So we have a new definition for what existing ag is, and why that's important is because in 2017, when we adopted the Shoreline Management Plan, it was later we adopted the Voluntary Stewardship Plan. And so that created some, not necessarily inconsistencies, but not clear direction about how one program might affect work within the shorelines. And so we've defined existing agriculture to include specific land areas on which agricultural activities are or have been conducted regardless of their period of dormancy. So trying to give some clarification there for those folks who are interested in being involved in voluntary stewardship and trying to determine whether or not they had ag prior to 2017. Some other minor changes in the use chart. Bridges are now allowed as a standard permit, a substantial development permit, as opposed to a conditional use permit. Getting back to ag, we clarified the chart to better clarify when agricultural uses were subject to the Shoreline Management Plan. When this comes to you for public hearing, you will see not only adoption of this plan, which affects one chapter of Lewis County Code, but you will also see a slight change to the Critical Areas Ordinance Code, just linking the two, and a slight change to Title 15, which is the Flood Development Code, and it will clarify there again, a clarification about flood damage prevention and just clarifying the type of permits.
So Lee, along these lines, and again, I think I probably know the answer, but through our experiences, right? I mean, in doing this, is there anything that has been somewhat streamlined or maybe washed out and that it feels like it's not useful and it could expedite a process? Is there any of that that ever goes on? I hope maybe I'll.
So with the passage of the Shoreline Management Act in the 70s came some fairly detailed RCWs and WACs that provided guidance that counties must follow. So what we've tried to do is to try to be clear in our understandings and trying to be specific in our documents about how things apply. So the streamlining is more about communication in terms of when the shoreline management plan applies and when it doesn't. But specifically in this recent document, that's kind of more of an overall philosophy. But specifically in this, we did have the flexibility to not require bridges to be a conditional use permit. We were also able to connect the voluntary stewardship plan with the shoreline management plan. So those two segments, I think, have some efficiencies.
Okay, good. Thank you, Lee.
And so again, in wrapping up, once this is complete and I have the resolution, I'll be forwarding this to the Department of Ecology. They have up to 30 days to return back their initial review to us, and then I'll start scheduling a public hearing to adopt it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll get those on comments. Colonel Averill, we'll catch you when we get through this under announcements or communications, if you don't mind. Okay, there was any other questions for Lee? Okay, there was a motion and a second to approve resolution 21-227. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passed 3-0. Okay, thank you, Lee, very much. Anything under COVID-19? Is JP or John or Becky, anything? Okay. Okay, announcements. Any announcements? Colonel Averill,
Yes.
do you have an announcement? I'll let you make an announcement.
All right. I was really in respect to the SMP. We did at the Farm Bureau have some concerns on the first draft, and I applaud Lee and Ms. Wee. They worked with us very closely in both the Voluntary Stewardship Plan Working Group and at the Farm Bureau itself. We worked out our differences, and we're very satisfied with the way the plan looks. So, thank you again. Thanks to Lee and Ms. Wee.
Thank you, Colonel, and thank you for all your work too. Okay. Any other announcements? Former Commissioner Fund.
Hello. I wanted to make a few comments about Juneteenth. And, the legislature passed that this will be a state holiday next year.
Yes.
And when you look at Juneteenth, does anybody know what is the largest city founded by a black man in the United States?
Well, I'm sorry. Edna, could you repeat that? I didn't quite hear you or didn't understand.
Does anyone know what city in the United States is the largest city founded by a black man?
I would say it's probably Centralia, and we probably know who that is.
It is Centralia. So our George Washington, according to Quintard Taylor from the University of Washington, said that we have the largest city founded by a black man. And so I think many of you know that on Saturday at 10 o'clock in George Washington Park, there's going to be a commemoration of Juneteenth happening.
Yes.
So just wanted to make sure that we remember our history. And probably for Commissioner Pollack, you might have heard that years and years ago in the 30s, there was a black church in Winlock whose picture is in the University of Washington as part of their cultural presentation. Anyway, thank you for letting me talk about Juneteenth and our George Washington.
Absolutely. Thank you, Edna. Okay. Anything on calendars?
Egg Day Parade on Saturday.
Yes. And for those who are interested, especially up in the East End, the EDC will be up there along with myself, and it's going to probably framed as a workshop on some of the industry that they might be looking at up there, just to get some comments and responses from some of the citizens that live there. So The EDC will be up there, and that meeting will start at Thursday at 6 o'clock up in the community building. So should be a lot of good sharing there and finding out exactly what direction maybe some of the folks want to go up there. So anyway, that's we kind of added that to the calendar. Claudia, anything?
No, not right now. Thank you.
Okay. Susan Dallaire, I know you. I see you. Well, I don't see you, but I see you.
I don't have anything either. Thank you.
Okay.
Seeing no further business, I move that we adjourn.
Second.
Second. Thank you, everyone, and thanks for being here, and look forward to hearing from you and seeing you again.